Okay, the ultimate sound that everybody, when they're learning the djembe, they want to get, the slap. So what is the slap? Okay, let's have a look at the three basic sounds again. Look at the bass, the tone, and then we'll look at the slap. Here's the bass, here's the tone, and here's the slap. And to be honest, when you're learning the slap, it is quite good to be going back to the tone at the same time so that you can be checking that you are getting contrast between the two. Tone, slap. Okay, so I have titled this slap, Slap Without Pain. And I've titled it like that because I don't think I've met anyone who has learnt and acquired that slap without a considerable amount of time of missing the wrong place and finding themselves getting bruises in particular parts of their hands. There are actually a lot of very subtle variations the way people would get a very, very effective slap. This is my approach to it. As I'm getting the slap sound, I'm really very much working around the edges of the drum here. I've mentioned before when we looked at tone, we talked about that danger area, which is the edge there, and how with a tone you're pretty much, you're going straight down and you're really missing that part completely, so that all the emphasis is on the gravity coming down and coming down on the tips of your fingers. The slap is a little bit different. Actually, there is, for me, some contact on the edge of the drum here. But for me, it's a very subtle stroke of the palm against the edge of the drum. So we're going to have a look at that in a minute. What I also just want to remind you is just that little exercise that we looked at for getting suppleness in our fingers. So as you might have, if you've seen the video before on tone, we did an exercise where we held the wrist like this and we started moving the arm and doing a little bit of a flick coming from the elbow without getting the wrist to do anything. But using that flick to try and get the fingers here to start moving freely. And if you start to do it and really start getting used to those fingers moving freely, they're in a chord, you can start to get that sound, the sound of one hand clapping. And this really becomes quite crucial as to get that suppleness and freeness in your fingers when you're playing the slap. Because really, when you make that sound, it's quite an involuntary action. It's not something that really you really do anything. And to say, going back to it, the only thing you physically really do when you're making the slap stroke is you lift up your arm. A little bit more about that in a bit. First of all, I want you just to have a look at something here. I want you to kind of have your fingers in a resting position. And we're going to have the palm just behind the drum, just on the edge of the drum here. And I want you to try and have your fingers not really, really rigid or stiff, but just have them just pointing upwards there. And then, just being quite relaxed about it, I want you just to do something a bit strange. I want you to be just getting your palm and just making some sort of strokes on the edge of the drum there. So emphasis on it being a stroke or a skim of the edge. It is not that. Ouch. Exactly. It is just being almost like a skimming a stone, a pebble across the lake. It's a little scuff against there. Just like that. And this is what's happening as I do that stroke. And I'll demonstrate by just getting my hand here. And I'm going to pretend that that is the drum. I'm going to pretend that's the skin of the drum and that's the edge of the drum here. And then I'm going to get my palm and I'm going to make that stroke against the knuckles here, which are the edge of the drum. So you see, I'm doing that very subtle stroke from the heel of my palm going up there. And you'll notice that while I do this, you can see these fingers, because they're being able to move freely, they are being flicked forward onto the surface of the djembe. You can even hear, I can even hear a very subtle little slap sound as it flaps against my knuckles. And really you could imagine it's a bit like the way they're being flicked onto the drum, it's like a whip sound, and that's really why you're getting that very high-pitched sound. It's like a whip lash on the djembe surface. Okay, so there you go. That's what we're doing. So we've looked at suppleness, the fingers. We've looked at finding that stroke. Now that's going to take some time, and to be honest, what you really essentially want to be doing is trying to get that action without the pain. So it will take a little bit of involvement, keeping your hands quite close to the drum. Don't really do this really wide, or you're likely to be really hammering them. Keep it quite small, small movement. And also the most important thing is, remember, this is a straight line. So the movement is coming up from the fingers. That's all it is. Comes back. So as you stroke, this is straight. It goes up, it comes back down. As it comes back down, it skims that edge. And if you can do that, and you spend some time with it, you get really relaxed, you'll start to hear the slap coming out.